Patterns in Mathematics from Grade 6. Starting off with what is mathematics? In our chapter, mathematics is the study of patterns and understand why they happen. So the first thing that you need to know is why patterns are important in daily lives, and you need to know some examples. First example is patterns helps us build bridges. Then patterns help us to understand planets, as well as make mobile phones. These are the few examples of why we use patterns or why we use mathematics in daily life. Next, let's have a look at what is number theory. Number theory is basically the study of number patterns. So if you look at this, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You can see there's a pattern going on, and that is the number line, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the number theory, that is a study of the patterns in numbers. Next, let's move on to one of the most important concepts in this chapter, and that is important number sequences, starting off with all ones. So what do I mean by all ones? All ones mean the same number repeats. So whenever the same number repeats, it is the sequence or pattern of ones. For example, 1 and then 1, 1, etc. It goes on. So this is all ones sequences. Next is counting numbers. Counting numbers is when you add a number every single time. That is 0. Now add 1 to 0, you'll get 1. Add 1 to 1, you'll get 2. And so on. If you keep on adding 1 to the previous number, you will get the counting number pattern. Next is the odd numbers pattern. Odd numbers pattern is when you add 2 to odd numbers. So whenever you add 2 to the previous number, that is the odd number, you'll get an odd number pattern. Starting off with which is the odd number in the number line? 1. 1, and then if you add 2 to 1, you'll get 3, then 5, 7, etc. So this is odd number pattern. Next is even numbers pattern. Even number pattern is when you add 2 to even numbers. So which is the even number in the number line? 2. And you go. That is 2, 4, 6, 8. This is even number pattern because all the numbers in this pattern are even, whereas over here it is odd. Remember, you add 2 to odd numbers to get odd number pattern, and you add 2 to even numbers to get even number pattern. Next is triangle number pattern. So just from the name, triangle numbers, that is the numbers that can make a pure triangle. For example, 1. One digit or one number can make a triangle. Then you have 3. That is 1, 2, 3. Then you have 6. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have 10, 15, and so on. So these are called triangle number patterns. That is, whenever a number can make a triangle, it is called as a triangular number pattern. If you take the number 6, you can make a triangle. If you take the number 3, you can make a perfect triangle. That is what triangle number pattern means. And just like that, there is square number pattern. Square number pattern is when a group of numbers make a square. Starting off with again number 1. With a 1 digit you can make a square. And the next number 4. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you draw 4 numbers together, you get a perfect square. All square number patterns make perfect squares. Now another one, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, it makes a perfect square, and then it goes on. That is 16 and so on. So all numbers which can make a perfect square, see, a perfect square, not even a bit of looking like a rectangle. It's perfect. So it's called as the square number pattern. Next is the cube number pattern. That is when a group of numbers make a cube. Again, starting off with the number 1. So number 1 can make a perfect cube. excuse my drawing if it's not good. Okay, so this is number 1. Then you have number 8. So yeah, this is a bit complicated to draw, but still. Imagine, see, 4 over here like this, and then backwards also 8. So that's how you make 8. That's how you make a cube with 8 number of digits. So whenever a group of numbers can make a cube, it is called as cube number pattern. 1, 8, 27, 64, etc. Next we have the Virahanka number pattern. That is when you add the last two numbers. So again, starting off with 1 and then write 2. Now the next digit will be the sum of the last two digits. That is 2 plus 1, 3. Next number, it won't be 4. It will be sum of last two digits. That is 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 15, 13, etc. 8 plus 5, 13, etc. So these number sequences are known as Virahanka number patterns. That is when you add the last two numbers. Next is the powers of 2 number pattern. That is when you multiply a number by 2. So what do I mean by that? 1. 1 into 2 is a 2. 2 2s are 4. 4 2s are 8. 8 2s are 16, 32, 64, etc. So this is what is meant by the number pattern of powers of 2. It is when the first number is multiplied with 2, the second number is multiplied with 2, and so on. You form a pattern. This is called as the powers of 2 pattern. If you understood powers of 2, then powers of 3 will be even easier. That is, you multiply the first number and the upcoming numbers by 3. That is starting off with 1. You multiply 1 with 3, you get 3. 3 with 3, 9. And then so on. That is 27, etc. So this is what the number sequence of powers of 3 is all about. Now let's quickly brush through the number sequences or number patterns. All ones, that is the same number repeats. Then counting numbers, whenever you add 1 to the previous number. Odd numbers, whenever you add 2 to an odd number, you get the odd number pattern. Then even number pattern, when you add 2 to an even number. Triangular number pattern, when you add the number such that it makes a triangle. Then comes a square number pattern, when the numbers make a square. That is a perfect square. Cube number, when the numbers make a perfect cube. Virahanka number, when you add two numbers, that the last two numbers when you add, you'll get a next number. That is a Virahanka number pattern. Then the powers of 2 number pattern, that is when you multiply the first and the upcoming digits by 2. Powers of 3, when you multiply the upcoming digit by 3. Now, with all of these number patterns, we have the next topic, that is relations between number patterns. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the relation between these all patterns. Starting off with pattern 1, which is adding odd numbers. When you add odd numbers, okay, so the first one is adding odd numbers. Okay, so the rule is that whenever you add any amount or any number of odd numbers, you always get a square. So what do I mean by that? Okay, when you add 1 and 3, you get the number 4. So before going to this, you need to know what is a square. Okay, so when you add 2 into 2 is 4, right? When a number is obtained, or you get a number by multiplying one number with its own, that is, when you multiply one number with itself, you get a new number. This number is called as the square number. Since the square number is 4, the number which gave you the square number here is 2. So just like that, when you look at here, 4 is the square number of 2, right? So that is what is meant by adding odd numbers. Whenever you add odd numbers, you will get square numbers because 4 is the square number of 2. Now one more example. 1 plus 3 plus 5. That is 9. Now you look. 3 into 3. What's 3 3s are? 9. So 9 is a square number of 3 because when you multiply 2 3s, you get 9. So 9 is the square number of 3. That is what the rule is all about. When you add 2, that is all about adding odd numbers. Then comes adding up and down. That is adding up and down. So what do I mean by this? So take 1 plus 2. Now after 1 plus 2, what is the number before 1? Before 2? 1. That is plus 1, which will give you 2, 4, 5. 4. 2, 3, 4. So the number you got is 4. Now you add the same. Just create a number or a pattern, that is 1, 2, 3. So the last digit is 3. Now check what are the numbers before 3. 2 and 1, right? So add those numbers again. That is, see, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Or 1, 2, which is the number before the last digit, 1. So you add it with 1. So this will give you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you look here, just like before, you're getting square numbers, right? Because 2 square is 4, 3 square is 9. So that means when you add up and down, you'll also get square numbers. The next thing is adding counting numbers. So what will you get when you add counting numbers? When you add counting numbers, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3 or 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. This is counting numbers, right? What do you get? 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if you look here, what is this pattern about? This is the triangle number pattern, right? 6 can make a perfect triangle. How? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A perfect triangle. 10 can also make a perfect triangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when you add counting numbers, you get perfect triangle numbers. When you add counting numbers, you get perfect triangle numbers. Then what do you get when you add triangle numbers? That is 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. 3 plus 6 is equal to 9. Again, what do we get again? Square numbers. 2 square is 4. 3 square is 9. So this is the relation between two things. That is, if you add triangle numbers, you get square numbers. If you add counting numbers, you get triangle numbers. Now what happens if you add powers of 2? That is, add 1 and 2. What do you get? 3. Add 2, 4, 1 plus 2 plus 4. You get 7. Now you add 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8. What do you get here? 15. Right? So this means that whenever you add powers of 2, you get certain numbers. Now you add 1 to those certain numbers and see what you get. When you add 1 to the certain numbers, that is 4, 8, 16. These are also powers of 2, right? 4 is a power of 2, 8 is a power of 2, 16 is a power of 2. So whenever you add the powers of 2 with 1 and again add it with 1, you get powers of 2 again. So you'll always get powers of 2 if you add powers of 2. That is what this rule is about. Next is hexagonal numbers. So what is hexagonal numbers? That is 1, 7, 19, etc. That is, whenever you arrange these numbers, you'll get a hexagon. You know what's the shape of a hexagon? It's like this. This is a hexagon. Okay, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6-sided polygon is a hexagon. Now you look over here. One digit can make a hexagon, right? As always, like square and triangle, one digit can make a hexagon. 7. Now look for 7. That is, okay, I'm just drawing dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, when you join these lines, what do you get? A hexagon. Now 19. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now you join all of this, what do you get? When you join all these dots again, you'll get a hexagon. So that is what hexagonal number means. That is the amount of dots. If you add it, or the numbers you add it, you'll get a hexagon. Now the rule with hexagonal numbers is that when you add two hexagonal numbers, we're only taking one example. 7 plus 1 is 8. What is 8? 8 is a cube number, because with 8 you can get a cube number. So that is all about hexagonal numbers. When you add hexagonal numbers, you get the cube numbers. Next, let's move on to the next topic, that is patterns in shapes. So the study of shapes or patterns in shape is known as geometry. Okay. Now some examples are regular polygons, that is a triangle, a square, a pentagon. Pentagon is like this, 5 sides. And then again, like before, hexagon. This is a hexagon. Hexagon is 6-sided. So these are the patterns in shapes. There are various types of patterns such as stacked triangles, stacked squares, complete graphs. It is there in a figure of your textbook. That is in table 3 of grade 6 textbook in page number 10 of the new textbook. So for the patterns in shapes, refer that textbook pictures. It will be much more easier. Now let's look at a polygon. So there's a pattern in the number of polygons. That is, there's a pattern in all the polygons. What is the pattern? See, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Look at the vertices or the sides. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 sides, so 6. 5 sides, 5. 4 sides, 4. 3 sides, 3. So you see here, whenever you add 1 to 3, and then add 1 to 4, add 1 to 5, add 1 to 6, you'll get a pattern, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So that is the pattern you see in polygons. Now let's look at another type, that is stacked squares. So you take a square. So this is when you put one square. Now you stack 3 more squares. You get another square, and this is 3. Now you stack a few more squares. You got another one with 9. So just like that, 1, 3, 9. This is the relationship between shapes and numbers. So that is what you need to study in the topic patterns in shapes. Now let's conclude all the points that we learned today. Starting off with mathematics is about patterns. Patterns exists in numbers as well as in shapes. Then we learn that patterns are connected. That is, we learn the relationship between patterns. And this is all about the chapter